System one, two. Audio sounds good. We're going to get started here in just a couple of minutes. If you would, leave a message in the chat. Let me know where you're joining us from. Uh, we're going to get started right at 7, and that'll be in a couple minutes here. And then, yeah, got about 15-minute training, and we'll do what we need to do. So thanks for joining us. So glad y'all are here. Again, we're going to start here in just a couple of minutes here. We'll give everybody a chance. I'm going to drop in the chat the link to the guide. So, going through the guide as we do these live teachings will be super helpful for you because I'm going to be able to expound upon exactly what we're going to talk about here. So, and hopefully, you'll get to hear my cat scratching at the door because that's what cats do. They scratch at the door. So, that's okay. I feel like I need to have a little music in here too when we do these, but Uh, anyway, we're gonna get started in just a couple of minutes here. Give everybody a chance to jump in, and we'll go from there. So let me get the link for the guide for you. Again, I feel like I need to have some music playing in here, but YouTube's a little funny when it comes to music. So I guess if I maybe I'll get the guitar out the next one, and we'll start playing some guitar. I don't know, but okay, just a couple of minutes longer here, and we'll get in. Okay. Awesome. I'm gonna put in the chat here the link for the guide that we're gonna go through is actually in the chat. So definitely, if you haven't already, go into the chat, click that link, and make sure you get that guide because that will be super helpful for you. We're gonna wait just another minute or so. I do want to respect your time and jump in right at 7. Got a lot to cover today, but hopefully this will add some value to you. Um, and you will definitely hear my cats out in the hallway because that's what cats do. They hiss at each other and they claw at the door, and wherever they can't be, that's where they want to be. So if you have a cat, you know all about that life. So that's totally fine. But we're going to wait another minute or so. And then, like I said, we'll jump in. The link to the guide is in the chat. So just jumping in with us, man. Thanks for being here. Thanks for taking 15 minutes to check out, um, just learning some music theory. As we get started here, I think like um, the genesis for this idea was just that as a lifelong musician, music has been the best thing that I've been able to do. It's been the thing I feel like I've been the best at my whole life. What's really cool about that is music theory is the understanding. It's kind of diving into why certain things sound the way they do. So but in my lifetime, I've run across a lot of musicians who have had sort of similar um, concerns when it came to learning music theory. So that was the idea. Is I wanted to try to make it super easy. So if you've ever tried to learn music theory in the past and you found it too complicated or it hasn't really worked out the way you thought, or you watch, there are thousands of people who teach music online, and many of them are phenomenal. um, but to be honest, sometimes I even look at those and I'm like, man, that's really complicated. So my heart today is to kind of go through from the beginning level, the absolute beginner. So if you know nothing about music, you're in the right spot. And can I just tell you, as we jump into this teaching here, um, that I want to dispel a common myth that I've heard from a lot of people. I've heard from a lot of people. They say, well, I want to learn music theory, but I just don't know. I just play by ear. I don't know. And it's just been too hard, or I don't know where to start. And so the guide in the chat is actually my free gift to you. It's my way of saying, if I was going to teach an absolute beginner music theory, teach them how to understand music, teach them how to just understand and be able to talk intelligently about music. This is how I would do it. This is the 9 steps that I would go through with every absolute beginner and say, if you know these 9 steps, I think that you have a pretty good basic understanding of music theory. So that's the heart behind these live teachings is I want to give you a chance to answer some questions and uh, get the guide. It's free and it's a great thing to go through. And so as we go through each of the 9 building blocks with the guide, you can come with questions and say, hey, I'm looking at building block 2 and you're talking about intervals. Like, I have a question on this. And so that's what this time is for, is I want to carve out time to add as much value to your musicianship as possible. So let's dive right in. So you've got the guide in the link. And so we're going to talk about building block number 1. So the absolute beginner, the building block number 1, the what I would consider the most basic thing you need to know is the musical alphabet. And so every song you have ever heard in your entire life uses 12 notes. And so what's really cool about that is in those 12 notes hold so much complexity in the order, the arrangement, the instruments, the timbre, the how we use those 12 notes really shows our creativity and our God-given ability to express ourselves through music. But at the end of the day, they all boil down to 12 notes. And so they boil down to 7 letters: A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So most of us, even myself, I think I can know the first 7 letters of the alphabet. So every piece of music you've ever heard uses those 7. We call those natural notes. And those are natural notes because they don't have a sharp or a flat on them. And so now let's back up. Now, what is a sharp and what is a flat? So when I was learning music theory, we always called a sharp a pound sign. The reality is, most people don't use rotary phones anymore. The pound sign's not really a thing. So we call it a hashtag. And all a sharp does is it takes that note, any natural note, and it raises it a half a step. So if you can picture a piano keyboard, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, the natural notes are all of the white keys. The black keys are the notes that are arranged in patterns of 2 and 3. Those are what we would call accidentals or flats or sharps. All right. So A through G, 7 letters, there are 5 accidentals. So the pattern basically goes like this. So between A and B, there is a black key in between that we would call either A sharp or B flat. Now, the fact that it has 2 different names is a little confusing, and we're going to dive into sort of how do I know which one to use? That is covered in the guide. It's a little bit later. For the beginning, I think it's good just to know that they are called the same thing, that they're called an enharmonic, is what we call it in music theory terms. And all that means is it's 2 notes that have the same pitch, but they have different names. So the best example I've always used is if somebody's named William, and if you're named William and somebody calls you Bill, those are 2 separate names for the same note or the same person. So in the same way, an enharmonic is just 2 ways of calling the same note, the same notes, 2 ways, 2 names for it. So in that way, from A to B, we have a black key in between, and we call that an A sharp because it's a half step above A, or we can call it a B flat. All right. So in between B and C, actually, there is no sharp or flat or black key in between the 2. So in between B and C, there's no black key in between. All right. In between C and D, there is a black key in between. So C sharp or D flat. Between D and E, we would have D sharp or E flat. All right. Between E and F, there's actually no black key in between. So if you want to sort of frame this in a pattern between the notes B and C and E and F, there's no accidental in between it. So it goes a half step is between B and C and E and F. Now, between F and G, we have F sharp or G flat. And then between G and A, because as you keep going up the musical alphabet, it just repeats. So between G and A, we would have G sharp or A flat. All right. So if you were to count that up, and there's a great picture in the guide that I think will really help you. So if you're like a visual learner and you want to see that, I've included that in the guide. It's my free gift to you that you can sort of look at that and just process through that information. But it doesn't matter if you're using a guitar, a piano, a trumpet, does not matter the instrument. All music has those 12 notes. So if we start from C, we would have C, then C sharp or D flat, D, D sharp or E flat, E, which would be the fifth note, F, which would be six, F sharp or G flat. We have G, then we have G sharp or A flat. Then we have A, which is 10. From A, we have A sharp or B flat. And then our 12th note is B. So every song you have ever heard uses just those 12 notes. And we know that when we take a natural note and we add a sharp to it, that means we raise the pitch a half step, which would raise it to a C to a C sharp. Or a flat would be we take a D and we lower it to a D flat. And let me tell you, my friends, that's the basic building blocks for music. It basically starts with just that. That's what it is. That's the beginning. Everything you've ever heard can be traced back to those 12 notes. So, my action step for you as I get to join you on this musical journey is I would love for you to download that free guide. Like I said, it's free. And that's also the best way if you're like, man, I've tried my whole life and it's just not for me. Can I just implore you? I've taught music for years, and every single person can learn music. Every single person can do that. And I know this because I've taught people with variety of different skill sets and different knowledge. So I would love for you to just jump in, get the guide, and walk through it with us. Like I said, this is these live trainings, and so I'm gonna. That's really that's building block number one. So that is the material right there. In 9 minutes, we covered the absolute beginning, the musical alphabet. So I'm gonna pause for a couple of minutes and just allow you to ask some questions in the chat. So I do want to try to answer them here. That is the Q&A portion. I think is the part I'm most looking forward to because this is where I get your feedback. And you're like, hey, I have a question, and doesn't have to be on what we covered today. So if you have like like a more advanced music question, you can ask them here. But definitely want to give you some opportunity to leave some messages in the chat because I think that would be again if you don't know and if you don't ask, then you never know. So definitely want to encourage you to ask a bunch of questions. But while you're thinking of your questions and as they come in, I'll pause and answer those. But I want to share a little bit about just my heart for teaching. I alluded to it at the beginning, but I've been a musician since fifth grade choir. So we're talking, oh, a long time ago. Probably, I'm 36 now, so we're probably talking what, like 25 years ago. Um, and music was something that I always gravitated towards. It was always my place where I found my belonging. It's where I fit. It's band, choir, orchestra, jazz band in college. Like those are my people, and I loved it. And so, what I've learned talking with a lot of people, especially in college, like first year music majors who would come in and they said, "Man, I love music. I want to learn it." And then it would get to first year theory, and they were like, "Man, I don't this is way too hard for me. I just want to enjoy music. I don't want to, learn about all of these complex things." And what I've learned in the time of not just learning music myself, but then also teaching AP music theory and going through that process is that it doesn't have to be that complicated. That it's just like learning a language, that music is like a 500-piece puzzle, right? And everything you learn in music, you basically fill in another puzzle piece. So as we talk about the musical alphabet, that's like one piece. Then when you talk about sharps and flats and things like that, that's like another piece that you add on to it. Well, over time, as you keep putting little pieces together, suddenly you'll start to get a bigger picture of different musical concepts. Now, here's what I've learned in 20 something, 25 years of being a musician is that there's always something to learn. And so there's definitely been some times where I've gone in and there's some things I don't know. There's some things that I'm like, okay, I kind of get that, but man, that's really complex. Like I don't know that. I got to dive into that a little bit more. And that's totally fine. That's okay. And I think for a lot of beginners, you may run into that and you're like, oh man, like I'm trying to go to an 8 difficulty level before I've even built the foundational stuff I need to build. And so that's what my heart is I want to talk to the absolute beginner. I want to talk to the person who has tried to learn music their whole lives, or maybe they just like listening to music but they've never really dove in and just tried to learn it. That's what this guide is designed for. That's what these lives are designed for. So um, I'm going to pause here for another minute. If you have any more questions, make sure to leave them in the chat. um, if you think that this guide or these trainings would be helpful to a friend, please share it. Like that's I think about the person who has maybe been playing music their whole lives. Maybe they played guitar and they maybe know some shapes, but they've never really put the knowledge and matched it up with what they know. That's what I want to join this journey with you, and I want to help you. I want to try to give you as much value as I have. Everything that I've learned in my time as a musician, um, I want to give to you. I want to give it to you for free and help you. So full disclosure, I did start so I played percussion in high school band. I was a guitar major in college, played bass guitar in college in the jazz band, orchestra, concert band. Was a band director for a few years, so went through all like the woodwinds, brass, strings, method courses. Served heavily in church too, so I played keys, drum set, bass guitar, acoustic. In fact, I'm playing acoustic tomorrow night. With the church here locally. Super excited about jumping in and joining them there, and then playing bass this weekend and MDing as well. So if you're somebody who's like, hey, I serve on my church worship team and uh, I want to get better. I want to understand what they're talking about, specifically the Nashville number system, which is something that I've heard is a commonplace of some people just really struggling to know what the number system is. My worship leader is talking about a 1 to 5 to 6 to 4, and I'm like, I don't know what that even means. This guide, actually, building block 8, actually covers the Nashville number system. And so I tried to break it down exactly how I would teach a brand new uh, volunteer to the worship team. I wanted to give you that material for free. So the 9 building blocks, I'm confident if you go through these steps and if you go through that, that I think that you will really benefit from just gaining that foundational knowledge. So anyway, I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Again, if you're watching a replay of this, totally fine. Click the link in the bio and make sure to subscribe to this page so that way you can get the updates and follow me at Kevin Farmer on Instagram, kevin.j.farmer. Where I'll be posting all the information on when we go live again. And I hope that you'll join us. And the best way to know when things are coming up is definitely to get the guide, get on the email list. And so that way, you know, you can get the material when it comes out. So I love you guys. I'm so glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. If you have any questions, definitely, let us know in the chat. But otherwise, thanks for being here. I hope you have a wonderful night, and I can't wait to join you next time when we do another live teaching. So thank you so much. Have a wonderful night.